we have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, the 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration.
All right, so about a week ago, RFK Jr. sat in a cabinet meeting and made some serious accusations against HHS, which is something that he's supposed to be looking over. And he claimed that they had become responsible for facilitating around 300,000 minors in human trafficking. And when I went to go look this up to see what everybody was saying, I was kind of in surprise a little bit, to be honest, because a lot of the media outlets and people were claiming this number was greatly exaggerated or just outright called it a conspiracy theory. So I thought it'd be a good idea to look into this. So in order to understand what all this is going on and even these allegations, we kind of have to understand where it originated from. Otherwise, it can sound a little bit nonsensical. So this started with the prospect, or I should say it started with, we're going to go back to the origin of something called Title 42, which was enacted in 1944. And I'm displaying it right here. This is from Cornell Law School, and it's giving you a definition. I'm going to try and simplify it as best as I can, but essentially it allows the CDC to, it's not creating an immigration policy, but it's creating a restriction on imports or persons that can come into the country from a specific area or region if they think it will provide a threat, like a new disease to the country. So we need to stop that from coming in. Right, so they have the power to do this with if it's approved by the president. So, in accordance with regulations approved by the president. So, as long as the president agrees to sign this, it basically allows the executive branch, in my opinion, to create immigration policy and pass it through. During 2020, on March 26, 2020, during the pandemic, Trump invoked Title 42. As you can see right here. It says under sections 362 and 365 of the Public Service Act, he enacts this. And the reason he enacts it is he wants to suspend certain persons from countries where the outbreak exists. So he essentially uses this to say that people from a variety of countries can't come in because they think they're going to spread the outbreak, which obviously includes people south of the border. After Trump enacted this, interestingly enough, the numbers for the unaccompanied minors coming to the borders dropped drastically, but all the numbers dropped drastically, right? So before, they were around 70,000, which is still a lot in my opinion, but it dropped down to around 15. So after Trump enacted this, obviously he didn't win his second term. And when Biden came in, I know he made changes to immigration policy, but I haven't studied up enough on that to go through all of those. But what I do know is that there were rumors of him trying to, edit is the right word, the Title 42 that Trump implemented. And this was in 2021. And then in 2022, March 12th, he actually went through with it. And so what he did was he essentially made it so that if any unaccompanied minors come to the border, that they're just going to be processed them. They're going to be processed through and transferred to the HHS Office of Refugee Resettlement, or ORR, instead of turning them away at the border, even if they didn't have a parent or guardian with them. So if an adult came to the border, then they would turn them away. But if a minor came to the border, then he would accept them through, right? And they'd be processed. And he did this because, again, I don't have a direct quote, but because it's actually kind of hard to find some of these quotes for some reason. But it's believed that he did this because it was inhumane to turn away minors at the border who were seeking asylum. So all of these, by the way, are in the name of seeking asylum. And I guess I'll get into my opinions on that in the second video that I put out on this. After he put this in, we see a massive surge in unaccompanied minors coming through the border. So I mentioned before that I believe in 2019 it was around 70,000, which is still a lot, again, in my opinion. But during Title 42, it dropped drastically to 15,000. But after Biden made the change, it skyrocketed. Like it went to 152,000 unaccompanied minors coming to the border, which is a lot, in my opinion at least. I think that's a substantial amount. So this is just in 1 year, 2022. 2023 was 137. 2024 was 100, and obviously in 2025, 25,000 is still a decent amount since it's only been 5 months, but the numbers drastically dropped. Okay, so it's not nearly as much as 152. It's because of this that whistleblowers like Tara Lee Rodas and Deborah White came forward saying that basically HHS got overwhelmed with the amount of unaccompanied minors that were coming through, and the vetting process got, I don't know if corrupted is the right word, but there are problems. So Tara Lee Rodas, she was like someone who volunteered to assist HHS during the southern border crisis, and she claims that she witnessed children being placed with unvetted and suspicious sponsors attempting to collect multiple children from different OR sites, the use of WhatsApp and handwritten notes to guide children to sponsors, many of which were people that they just never met. She also raised these concerns internally, but faced retaliation, like including being walked off the site, their badge being revoked, and threatened with investigation, all this stuff. So after that was all in 2021, 2022, like around when this stuff was going on. 23 comes along, and then she testifies before Congress stating that the government's become the middleman in like a billion-dollar child trafficking operation. So another whistleblower comes forward as well. Her name was Deborah White, and she was a formal federal case manager or contractor working with the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR. And she was supposedly directly involved with the placement of the unaccompanied minors with sponsors while being contracted. So the stuff that she said kind of is similar to her, Tara Rhodes, but some of it's a little bit more different in some ways. But she claims that there was no sponsor vetting and training, so that there's no formal training provided for vetting sponsors. There was a lack of facial verification, so the sponsors were often never seen face to face. Like verification was done by sending pictures of documents, meaning caseworkers didn't have to confirm the ID or birth certificate actually of the person. There were multiple children to one sponsor. The other one was like there was a case where she reported that there was a teenage girl with like a male sponsor living with multiple other adult males despite her protests. Right. So she also started receiving internal pushback for raising concerns. And she mentioned that the HHS contractors were encouraged to prioritize quick placement rather than careful vetting. And yeah, so she's claiming essentially that, or both her and Tara Rhodes are claiming that the vetting system is essentially non-existent, and that the unaccompanied minors are just being put with anybody who's claiming to be like their sponsor, and they don't have to verify it. So no DNA tests, no ID verification, all this stuff. So this all comes out in 2023, and this creates like a sort of uproar, or at least it gives enough attention where people start wanting to look into this, including the Florida grand jury. So they hold a trial, and they essentially come up with these findings. And it says the presentment released today found, among other things, that during a 10-month period in 2021, ORR lost contact with nearly 20,000 unaccompanied minors. So UAC, by the way, means unaccompanied alien. I forget what the C part stands for, but it's an unaccompanied minor. I think it's unaccompanied alien children, like that. And the report showed HHS and the U.S. Department of Justice received thousands of allegations of sexual abuse. Testimony of the UAC revealed that a minor was pimped out by her quote-unquote aunt, whom they didn't know prior to coming to the U.S. ORR discouraged close checking of addresses of sponsors, and some sponsors utilized addresses in Jacksonville, including a strip club, empty lots around or surrounded by stacked shipping containers or open fields. So during the Biden administration, caseworkers or case managers are only performing home studies in approximately 4.5 of the placements in discretionary home studies in less than 1% of the cases. One case manager reported to have released a teenage girl to a male sponsor with multiple other unknown males living in the same residence, all unidentified. These presentment stated this is not an isolated incident. Criminal history, lack of citizen status, and even total refusal to submit a background check does not disqualify sponsors from receiving a UAC. One sponsor was given custody despite having been to Florida prison before battery on a child. A disturbing pattern has emerged with sponsors applying to receive multiple UAC. One address in Texas showed 44 children sent to a single residence. One contractor testified that it placed over 598 UAC with only 132 sponsors, or each receiving 4.5. Obviously, there's more. You can read through that real quick if you want, but you have two whistleblowers along with internal employees testifying that there is a significant problem here, and it seems like I'll go through my opinion, like I said in the second video, but it seems as though there's a unusual practice going on when distributing these children to sponsors and vetting the sponsors. So you have the two whistleblowers, the grand jury, and then you have RFK Jr. making the same claim. They're all corroborating it. So I'm not exactly sure why, like, all the medias are trying to, or I'd say a decent chunk of them are trying to, like, downplay it or make it seem like it's a conspiracy theory. There were also a ton of, like, independent media that I came across in the past, at least. This is at least before during the election cycle, like when Biden was running against Trump, that were also making similar claims that it was just a conspiracy theory. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments.